Licking branches are just one more way whitetails tell one another who's in the area.
There's several ways you can make a mock scrape. It's not too difficult. Number one thing, make sure you're positioning it in the right spot.
I saw some young bucks, some does, and then my target deer finally showed.
One thing I tell all my hunting buddies, if you want to see more deer, put up some mock scrapes. They don't always listen, but when they do, they see more deer. This is Deer and Deer Hunting TV. Licking branches, I love them. You know, it is such an important part of deer hunting, and it's fun when you put your cutty back cameras in front of these scrapes and you get all this action. But a licking branch itself is probably the most important part of a whitetail's communication system. They deposit scent there, not only in the scrape, but on that licking branch. And with a mock scrape, a good licking branch is really going to give you a lot of intel on all the deer coming through that area.
There are a ton of advantages of setting up your own mock scrape. And for me, it's always putting the deer where you want to shoot them. Now that's in a shooting lane, but shooting lanes can be big. I like to get very specific, and that mock scrape does that. So when you're setting up your tree stand, look down and look, is that a good area for a mock scrape? Does it have a trail coming down it? Does it have some type of natural timber line the deer are going to want to follow? Is there a fence line there with some brush in it where they could create a scrape, or you create the mock scrape? And finally, is that a good place for you to get the shot off? Is it a clear shooting lane? Is it 20 yards or less? And is it where you want to shoot, depending on where the sun is, the wind is, all those factors?
There's several ways you can make a mock scrape. It's not too difficult. Number one thing, make sure you're positioning it in the right spot. Has to be a deer travel area. Over a feeding area, like I said, a food plot, a small food plot, an egg field, on the edge, in the woods, in an oak flat, has to be an area that deer are frequenting. Number one, it's most important. Sometimes you're going to find natural scrapes there. That's even better, because now you can actually have a scrape line that's coming to your tree stand spot. And normally what a buck will do is he'll approach it and he might circle it, not too unlike he will with a decoy. He's still, you know, scent checking, especially if you're going in and out of there. Even as careful as you are, they might know that something is up. But once these deer start using it a lot more, they're still going to come circle that area. So that's how I try to set mine up, is I'll maybe have just one branch off of it, sometimes two, and I'll have them positioned in an area that when that buck, now it's not always going to happen this way, but when he approaches that licking branch, if he starts working that licking branch, he's quartering away. That's how I really want to have it. Steve Bartilla taught me this many times over the years here at Deer and Deer Hunting, is a little angle to that branch away from me, my position, is going to give me probably the best shot. One thing I don't want to do is have that branch on the opposite side of the tree or the post, because if that buck comes in, he's facing me, and I may or may not get a shot. I might want to have that either facing toward me, or, like I said, at an angle one way or the other, to get the optimal position on the deer when he stops.
Deer and Deer Hunting TV is brought to you by
Red oak is dynamite because they can chew and chew and chew on the ends of those branches, and most times that licking branch is still going to stay there. A soft maple, even though deer like to chew it, even on an aspen or poplar, they like to chew it, but most times they chew it off, and then you don't have a licking branch. You have to have a good licking branch. I prefer oak or hard maple. Now that's natural, so if you have it, you can just break that down, hang it over where you want the scrape to be, put a Magnum scrape dripper up there, and you're good to go. A lot of times you don't have that option. You simply don't have a preferred species there, or you don't have something that's within range of where you want to have your banks blind or your tree stand. So in those cases, you can either attach like an active branch to existing tree, and then clip your own branches and put them in there, and you've got your mock scrape, easy to go. If you don't have a tree that you can put an active branch to, then what you could do is you could go to the hardware store, get yourself a 4x4, grab your post hole digger, and you can put one right there in the food plot in front of you, or like I said, if you're hunting just a natural food source or just intersecting trails, you can put one there. Again, there, I've seen guys take just drywall screws and screw branches into posts or natural trees. That works, but even better, these active branches work so well. It's basically a bracket that you can put that branch in there, secure it tightly to whatever that structure is going to be. I have 4x4s, I have fence posts that I use them on, and the deer, they basically can't destroy it. They'll work that licking branch a lot, they're going to paw the scrape a lot, especially if you've got like a little bit of active cam or maybe just some curiosity scent or estrus scent. They're going to paw that scrape and make it a hot scrape for several weeks during the rut.
Scent precaution is everything when you're setting up a mock scrape. You definitely want to be scent free, whether you're using scent killer, gloves, your laundry detergent to launder your soap, all these things. Be very, very careful of not leaving human presence there. One of the things that I think is important, even when you go through that full regimen of cleaning yourself, cleansing yourself of scent free, is to not even touch vegetation. Sure, you've become scent free with all your sprays and everything, but any little thing you touch could grab something. Maybe the saw you're carrying has a little bit of scent from your garage on it yet that you never thought about. All those things, be very careful. If you do, you're going to just create a scrape that deer are going to realize, hey, that was just another scrape created by someone else without any human leftover scent from you.
So what types of scent should you be using on your mock scrapes at different times of the year? So if you don't know this already, deer use mock scrapes throughout the year. That's not a secret. They use licking branches throughout the year. It's their way of communicating with each other. I've used all different types of scents on my mock scrapes in the off season. Curiosity scents work great. They get deer in there, just a curiosity. They come in, oh, here's a scrape, and they start working that licking branch.
But in the pre-rut, as bucks start to begin their testosterone drive, you may want to go to a dominant buck type scent. The buck scents then actually work good because deer are setting the pecking order. So if they smell another buck in their area, they're going to be curious. Why is there another buck here? Who is that buck? And is it somebody I need to drive out of the area or be aware of as the breeding season comes up as competition? Now, when breeding season kicks off, hey, golden estrus is your baby. That's the one you want to use. You can use it as a spray, just mist it in a shooting lane on some vegetation, put it in a dripper, hang it on a wick. Those are all good ways to disseminate, attract, and finally distract deer.
I've also used synthetic scents, and I've used urine-based scents. The urine-based scents I try to withhold until hunting season's getting closer, just because when those testosterone levels raise in bucks, which normally starts right around mid-September, but as we get closer to September, things start to change in a whitetail buck. A whitetail buck starts feeling his oats a little bit, and then once you get full blown into the pre-rut, then it's almost nothing but urine scents for me on my mock scrapes.
Now, I'm an outdoor rider by trade. There are so many instances in my own personal anecdotal experience that whitetails are impacted by weather, temperature, precipitation, and the like. A few years ago, I experienced a hunt that just absolutely expressed the truthfulness of that particular fact. This was a deer hunt that I experienced in Ohio. Now, I'm a Kentucky boy, born and raised here, but I love hunting in Ohio. It's one of my favorite states to be. And I've hunted there for several years now. This particular hunt played out on January 7th, 2022, and it was the one and only time I've shot a buck in the snow.
All right, back after it today. I was in the blind yesterday afternoon, which is about 20 yards to my right here. This afternoon, I'm gonna be obviously in a tree stand, as you can tell, but hopefully we get a shot at something. We may not, I don't know, but we're at least gonna give it a shot and try, so we'll see what happens.
This particular location was kind of on this little ridge top. The ridge kind of tapers down. There's a lot of oaks up and down that ridge. The deer could not get downwind of me. The wind was kind of in my face, kind of blowing off the bluff down into the valley below. So unless the wind swirled, there was absolutely no way that the deer could smell me. It pinched down as well. There was another valley that dropped off in front of me. So there was about a span of, say, 30, 40, maybe 50 yards where it was really, the deer just had to pinch through there to travel.
That's a deer we call Spindling. I've seen him, I think, 3 times this season. I don't think I got it on camera because he stood there so long I quit recording. It happened quickly when it did happen, but there was a doe and a fawn up here, and they trotted back over the hill, and he followed them, trailing them back down over the hill. He was about 50 yards, 55 yards. Not quite in range.
I saw some young bucks, some does, and then my target deer finally showed. My target deer worked through, he come through the timber. I watched him, tracked him with a camera. Eventually he kind of got into a shooting lane, a shooting window, and I was able to draw back, settle the pin, and make a good clean shot. Of course, tracking that deer in the snow was just one of the most surreal moments of my bow hunting life. Of course, when I recovered the deer, it was just another a piece of that story that I'll never forget. It was just the epitome and a great example of seeing the power of weather, especially snow and cold temperatures, and the effect it has on those white-tailed deer.
Deer and Deer Hunting TV is brought to you by
Okay, so here's my strategy for this year. I created a new, what I call an hourglass shaped food plot. I'm doing this for for two reasons. One, I want to be able to hunt my banks during bow season and during gun season with as little impact as possible. So what I'm doing there is this spot here I'm clearing out. I'm going to have a little clover plot right in front of the blind. You can see there's a swamp behind the blind. And then I've got trails that I've mowed. This is 2 years ago. I mowed trails coming into this spot to an already established food plot that's about 75 yards from here. That I like to leave alone until gun season because there's a bedding area back there that it's just too risky to try to bow hunt close to there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bow hunt here, easy access to the banks, which really reduces my scent, especially when I'm up in that blind. You'll see I like to black out those windows. I like to keep the windows shut. So when anything comes in here, it's really stealthy for bow season. Then when gun season comes, just a little tunnel that I've basically got mowed through this clover plot back to another plot where I'm going to have brassicas, and that's going to be a good draw for those late season deer. So hopefully I can kill 2 birds, or should I say deer, with 2 tries. I'm going to try it early bow season and then later during gun season. Scent free as a deer hunter, does it exist? No, it doesn't. You're never going to be scent free, but you can try to do everything possible to eliminate scent. Back then, we didn't have all these great products that we have today. Technology has really taken the scent free game to another level, seriously. Today, with the technology we have, Scent Killer Gold. I use this stuff like clockwork, and the reason why I do it, it really makes things easier and it really improves the scent-free approach. Again, not 100%, nothing will be, but applying it, that's the key. You have to learn how to apply these products first to really get the maximum benefit out of them. Anything soft, anything fabric is going to get hit with Scent Killer Gold spray. You have to apply it first, and you have to learn how to apply it. The thing you have to remember there is not just a couple spritzes and you think you're all good to go. That's not how it works. A full dosing, saturate that fabric product, whether it's a vinyl case, a safety harness, my clothes, my boots, a nice even coating. That's how you apply this stuff. That's for fabric. If you're doing anything plastic or metal or I call a hard good, my bows, my crossbows, my bipods, these wipes are super nice for that because basically I can just wipe the limbs on my crossbow, the scope, the stock, my bog bipod can get that completely saturated applying it. That's the key with any of this type of wipe product. So that's step number 1, applying it. Drying it is another topic for another day.